My family still talks about that night like it was an accident. It wasn't. I made a choice. A quiet, deliberate choice. And now the weight of it is clawing its way back. She called me worthless in front of 5 of her closest friends. That moment, that one single moment, split my life into 2 parts, before the dinner, and after. I'm Ryan. 34. I teach marine biology at the community college here in Charleston. On weekends, I run scuba diving tours for tourists and students who want to see the reef up close. Madison, my girlfriend of 4 years, 32, works in social media for a luxury resort chain. For the last 2 years, she's been living with me in the old beach cottage I inherited from my grandparents. I thought we had built something real together. I thought I knew her. So when her birthday came around, I went all out. I made reservations at Charleston's most exclusive seafood restaurant, coordinated with her 5 best friends, and even planned a weekend getaway that matched exactly what she'd said she'd love someday. It wasn't just about the dinner, it was about showing her how much she mattered to me. I wanted her to feel celebrated, surrounded by people she loved. The night started like a dream. She wore this deep emerald dress we'd picked out together a few weeks earlier. She looked breathtaking. I'd arranged transportation, made sure her favorite white wine was already chilling, and even worked with the restaurant to have edible flowers on her dessert, just like the ones she'd shown me on Instagram. Her friends were all smiles, the private dining room gleamed with soft lighting, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. For a moment, I thought I'd done everything right. Then Chloe mentioned her boyfriend's new Tesla and their upcoming luxury getaway to Ka Island. Madison tilted her head, letting out this wistful little laugh I recognized all too well. "Oh, that sounds incredible," she sighed, eyes shining. "Ryan suggested we go camping in the Blue Ridge Mountains this fall, which is so." She waved her hand dismissively, searching for a word that would cut. Pathetic, honestly. I mean, sleeping in a tent when I could be at a Caribbean resort. I felt something in my stomach knot. It stung, but I tried to laugh it off, to smooth over the awkwardness. "Well," I said, a little too defensive, "we did talk about budget, especially after those influencer purchases you just made." As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Her face flushed. The temperature in the room shifted like a sudden cold wind. "Budget constraints?" she repeated, laughing, but there was no warmth in it. Then, in front of everyone, she let the mask drop. "You mean because you're absolutely worthless? Just a community college teacher who plays with fish tanks, while my friends date investment bankers and real estate developers." The table fell silent. My pulse thudded in my ears. Madison wasn't done. "It's embarrassing, honestly. Chloe's boyfriend owns property portfolios. Ashley's fiancé is launching his 3rd startup. And me? I'm stuck with someone who has zero ambition beyond his little weekend diving business with tourists and dropouts." Her voice kept rising, word by word, like a storm picking up speed. "Do you know how humiliating it is to tell people my boyfriend teaches basic biology to kids who couldn't get into real universities? That he still drives a 2018 Jeep instead of leasing something that doesn't scream, 'I've given up on life'?" Every word was like a blade. I sat there, frozen, as the woman I'd loved for 4 years dismantled everything I'd worked for, my marine research, the diving tours I'd built from scratch, the students who saw me as someone who believed in them. She reduced all of it to something she could sneer at. Her friends looked like they wanted to sink into their seats. But she looked energized by their discomfort, like finally saying all this out loud gave her some twisted rush. "I mean, seriously," she added, voice sharp, "what kind of future can I have with someone whose biggest career achievement is tenure at a community college? My friends' boyfriends are buying houses, investing, talking real goals. Ryan's biggest plan is ordering fish food for his classroom aquarium." Those words, they hit exactly where she knew I was softest. My insecurities. My quiet fears. The ones I'd only ever shared with her. I took in the stunned faces around the table. Madison was breathing hard, eyes locked on me, almost daring me to fight back. I didn't. I quietly folded my napkin, placed it beside the untouched dessert, and said, "You're completely right." Then I stood up, walked straight to the host stand, and paid the $340 bill. I didn't even look back. The drive to my diving partner Miguel's apartment was a blur of neon signs and quiet streets. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the passenger seat. By the time I parked, I had 67 missed calls and a wall of text messages that started with, "Ryan, I'm so sorry, I was drunk, please come back," and ended with, "How could you abandon me on my birthday? This is emotional neglect." Miguel opened the door, took one look at me, and silently handed me a beer. "Wanna talk?" he asked, "or should I just set up the couch?" I just nodded at the couch. That night, I stared at the ceiling as my phone kept buzzing from the kitchen counter. At some point, the silence between the vibrations became comforting. Tuesday morning changed something in me. I got up early, made coffee, and expanded my diving instruction business. Called 8 former students. Secured private tutoring contracts. Updated my marine biology certification. Booked the equipment maintenance I'd been putting off. By noon, when my phone finally died, the quiet felt like freedom. That afternoon, Madison showed up at the marine lab. She pounded on the glass partition like a storm trying to break in while I was showing a student how to test water chemistry. I didn't open the door. "Ryan, we need to talk like adults," she yelled. Through the glass, I calmly told her she had no legal claim to the house. Her name had never been on the deed. She was just a guest, and I had already verified everything with my neighbor, who happens to be an attorney. Her face twisted. She threatened to expose personal details. I reminded her that multiple diners had recorded her birthday meltdown. Watching her expression shift from anger to panic to calculation was like watching storm clouds roll and break apart. Then came the guilt trip. "I sacrificed my career for you," she said, pressing her hands to the glass dramatically. "I could have taken that position in Miami." In response, I opened my laptop and held up years of bank statements. For years of me paying the mortgage, utilities, groceries, while her entire paycheck went to designer clothes, branding investments, and luxury purchases. Watching the color drain from her face felt like finally breathing again. Thursday afternoon, she came back with reinforcements: her mother Patricia, her sister Ashley, and 3 of her friends, including Chloe. They marched into my beach cottage like they were on some kind of legal mission to claim shared property. I was ready. I pulled out receipts for everything. The vintage surfboard she claimed was ours? I bought it 5 years before we even met. Her friends shifted uncomfortably as each claim fell apart. Patricia tried the soft approach. "Ryan, surely you can be reasonable." But then Madison made the mistake of touching her stomach with this big dramatic pause. Ashley frowned. "Madison, didn't you just renew your birth control last week?" The pregnancy ploy died right there. And that's when I decided to drop the final card I'd been holding. "Speaking of Miami," I said, calm as the tide, "I found something interesting in your expense report." Her eyes flicked toward me. "It's funny how you claimed separate rooms at the conference, but the hotel confirmation says otherwise. Shared accommodations. With Chase Morrison." Her face went white. "It's not what you think," she stammered. "Chase just needed to split costs." But Patricia's face had already darkened. "Madison," her mother said slowly, "you told me you were staying with Sarah." The air went still, except for the sound of waves outside. "Sarah got sick, so Madison began. Ashley folded her arms. "You told me Chase was gay." And just like that, her house of cards began to collapse, right there in front of her own army. Within an hour of storming away from my house, Madison had flipped the switch. Suddenly, she was no longer the woman who'd screamed outside my marine lab or tried to drag half my furniture out of my cottage. She was the victim. She posted a perfectly curated series of Instagram stories that could have been a case study in emotional manipulation. Soft filters, cropped photos, carefully chosen words. She painted our entire relationship as a slow, suffocating experience of financial control and covert emotional abuse. There were pictures of us at upscale restaurants I'd paid for, captioned with things like, "When generosity is a disguise," and "Freedom starts when you recognize the cage." She picked moments that made her look glamorous and tragic at the same time. And the comments rolled in fast. "You deserve so much better, Queen. Trust your instincts. Toxic men always reveal themselves eventually." They didn't know the truth. To them, she was the heroine walking away from a villain. But then, Chloe's comment sliced straight through Madison's carefully built facade. "Madison, we all watched you destroy a good man at that restaurant. This victim story is manipulation, and frankly, it's disgusting." It sat there like a match on dry grass. For exactly 14 minutes. Then it vanished, along with Chloe's access to Madison's page. She'd blocked her. The next morning, my phone rang. "Department head. Ryan, I have to ask about these allegations," Dr. Williams said gently. "Frankly, they don't sound like you at all. Anonymous complaints about inappropriate conduct with students. Perfect timing, right?" The investigation didn't last long. 4 years of spotless records, glowing student evaluations, and professional references shut it down fast. But I knew exactly where those anonymous whispers had started. Meanwhile, Madison's Instagram narrative was picking up steam. 2,800 followers. Dozens of sympathy comments. People reposting her story like she was some kind of survivor. And then, everything flipped. 4 different diners from the restaurant uploaded their footage of that night. Tagged Madison. Tagged the location. Posted everything. Her voice, loud, slurred from wine, calling me absolutely worthless and mocking my pathetic little teaching job. My calm response. My quiet exit. It was all there, crystal clear. Chloe returned to the comments. "Madison, we all watched you destroy a good man who planned and paid for your birthday dinner. This victim narrative is pure manipulation." Another diner wrote, "Imagine calling someone worthless while he pays for your $340 birthday celebration, then crying financial abuse when he cuts you off." Then came the professionals. People from the very industry she'd built her image on. A prominent hospitality recruiter commented on her attitude toward service professionals who create real value. Another hotel exec bluntly wrote, "If this is how she treats someone she loves, imagine her handling guest relations during a crisis." The resort chain's regional manager, someone who actually followed her, left a single, pointed comment. "Interesting perspective on hospitality values. Our brand emphasizes respect for all service professionals." And just like that, the internet that once loved her turned its head away. Within 24 hours, Madison deleted everything and made her account private. But it was too late. The screenshots were everywhere. Her follower count plunged from 2,800 to 1,900 overnight. The trending tags #CharlesRestaurant and #EntitledPrincess were everywhere. People were tagging friends with captions like, "This is why you don't date entitlement." The irony wasn't lost on me. She tried to control the story. But the story had controlled her. 3 weeks after the dinner disaster, I woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of my garage keypad beeping. Someone was trying to get in. It was Madison. She was yelling about shared assets and demanding entry. Security showed up after I called campus dispatch, and when I handed them proof of ownership, they weren't amused. "This is still half my home," she screamed as they walked her off the property. "I lived here for 2 years." The officer didn't even blink. The deed was in my name. The lease had never been signed. The cottage was mine. The following Tuesday, her lawyer sent me a demand letter that read like bad courtroom TV. $18,000 for constructive eviction. $15,000 for emotional damages. Half the value of my cottage and diving equipment. 2 years of domestic partnership compensation. They claimed I'd financially isolated her and forced her out through psychological control. Miguel's sister, who's an attorney, laughed so hard she nearly snorted coffee onto the contract. They're claiming domestic partnership in South Carolina without a cohabitation agreement, she said while drafting the rejection. That's like claiming marriage because you shared a Netflix password. She sent a single-page reply. Attached the viral videos as evidence of public defamation. Done. Then her employer got involved. The resort chain's corporate compliance team contacted me directly. They wanted my account of an incident involving one of their representatives that may reflect on company values. I provided the unedited footage, financial receipts, documentation of the entire relationship. Thank you for your cooperation, the HR rep said. We're conducting a thorough review. The next day, Madison showed up at the campus dock where I was loading equipment for a dive lesson. You orchestrated my career destruction, she shouted, her voice carrying over the water. You turned everyone against me because your ego couldn't handle the truth about your limitations. I kept stacking tanks and organizing wetsuits. Madison, I said without looking up, 5 witnesses and multiple recordings aren't my ego. They're your behavior. She grabbed at my clipboard. You're ignoring my pain. I loved you, Ryan. Everything I said came from frustration about our future, not malice. I turned to her, finally meeting her eyes. You called me absolutely worthless in front of the people you wanted to impress. That wasn't frustration. That was contempt. 6 weeks after the implosion, my life didn't just recover, it flourished. My expanded diving business, coastal marine education, signed 12 new private instruction contracts. I landed a $95,000 annual partnership with the State Marine Conservation Program, real work restoring coral ecosystems and training new marine biologists. The kind of work she once called playing with fish tanks. I remodeled my beach cottage, peeling away her sterile, white-on-white aesthetic and bringing back its original nautical soul. For the first time in years, I was sleeping through the night. No buzzing credit card alerts. No silent resentment. Just peace. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned Madison was on a performance improvement plan at work for conduct concerns. Her leased BMW was repossessed. She'd moved back to her mom's condo and launched a lifestyle blog with 276 followers. Then Chloe messaged me. Ryan, I need to tell you something about that night. She explained that after I walked out of the restaurant, Madison spent 2 hours trashing me to their group, boasting that I'd been funding her spa trips, designer splurges, and branding investments, all while lying about her finances. When Chloe challenged her, asking why she'd humiliate the man supporting her dreams, Madison snapped. Called her basic. Said Chloe wouldn't understand because her fiancé didn't have real money. She even mocked Bradley's family restaurant as small-town garbage. Chloe's fiancé, by the way, runs a marine veterinary facility. A month later, he offered me a $45,000 consulting contract for underwater survey work. Honestly, he said, anyone who can stay that calm under fire is exactly who I want handling sensitive research. 3 other restaurant patrons reached out too, people with waterfront homes, asking for diving services and marine inspections. We hired you because of how you handled yourself, one of them said. If you can keep your head during a public ambush like that, we can trust you with our property. The woman who once mocked my life ended up boosting my business more than any marketing campaign ever could. Madison tried to destroy my reputation. But all she did was hand me the microphone. 2 months after that unforgettable night at the restaurant, the one that cracked everything open, I got a call I never saw coming. The name flashing on my phone stopped me cold. Chase. The Miami marketing director Madison had sworn was just a colleague. The same man she'd shared a hotel room with. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Ryan, his voice came through steady but tight, I need to tell you what really happened in Miami. There was a beat of silence. Then everything started unraveling. Madison came on to me, he said. She told me you were emotionally stunted, lazy, unambitious. That she was trapped in a dead-end relationship. But something felt off. So I looked you up. I saw your conservation work. The underwater research. The diving program. And the photos of you two together? She'd twisted everything. She wasn't trapped, she was lying to justify her own behavior. He paused, exhaling hard. I rejected her, Ryan. Completely. And I think that humiliation, the one she couldn't admit to anyone, is what fueled the birthday dinner outburst. He wasn't done. Now she's threatening to report me for harassment unless I confirm her victim story. I've documented everything for my own protection. I thought you should know what she's doing. I thanked him for the honesty, hung up, and just sat there for a long minute, staring at the quiet hum of the fish tank in my office. For months, I'd been wondering why she snapped like that. Now it made sense. It wasn't just cruelty. It was displaced shame. Then came the messages. Madison started texting from borrowed numbers, different area codes, different tones. She was living with her mom again. Patricia was charging her rent. She was working at a home goods chain for $12 an hour. Her elevated coastal living lifestyle blog hadn't earned a cent in 3 months. And now, eviction loomed. Her tone swung between desperation and practiced charm. Ryan, I'll take accountability. I'll get counseling. I'll make public retractions. Just help me get stable. Just this once. I stared at that message for a long time. 90 minutes, actually. Part of me thought about those quiet Sunday mornings when we'd lie tangled in sheets listening to the surf. About how she lit up the first time I taught her to snorkel. How she used to brag to strangers about my conservation work like it was her own. But those moments weren't real, they belonged to a version of her that performed love like it was theater, not truth. When I finally replied, it wasn't with money. Target on Rivers Avenue is hiring seasonal help, I texted. They actually value people with organizational skills and social media experience. Your background should help there. Her response came fast, like venom. You've become heartless and cruel, Ryan. The man I loved would never abandon someone he cared about. I exhaled slowly. My fingers didn't shake this time when I typed. No, Madison. I'm just not your worthless fish teacher anymore. Best of luck. Then I blocked every number she had ever used. 10 weeks after the birthday dinner, I got a call from Patricia. Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. Ryan, she began. Madison finally admitted everything. The finances. Chase. What you really thought of your job. I'm ashamed of how my daughter treated you. I just wanted you to know she's finally facing the truth. I thanked her. Not because I needed her apology, but because it confirmed what I already knew. Madison's story wasn't mine to fix. Meanwhile, my own story was writing itself beautifully. The State Marine Conservation Partnership turned into 4 additional research contracts with coastal universities. I hired 2 part-time assistants to handle the surge in diving instruction. My little weekend side hustle had grown into something solid, respected, and mine. One evening, I stopped by a marine supply store to pick up replacement gear. That's where I saw her. Madison. She was loading discounted cleaning supplies into the back of a beat-up 2019 Honda. There was no makeup, no soft filters, no curated poses, just a woman standing in the harsh fluorescent light of a parking lot. She spotted me. Started to walk over. But then she saw it, my new truck, the fresh logo plastered across the side. Coastal Marine Education, exploring ocean depths. I watched her hesitate, then turn away. No scene. No grand apology. Just silence. And in that moment, it hit me, not like a punch, but like a clean breath of sea air. I'd found my worth. And she was still searching for hers.